we're in here in the museum, and we're with the Stealth 2000, and Brett's got some cool stories about it. He was telling me, so Chevrolet sends him a motor for this,
Yep.
and what was the whole deal with that?
It was too big, and there was a problem with the electrical. So Chevy ended up sending him another motor to put in it, and it worked great.
Yeah. And so what else did he do that was interesting on this deal that, so it all just came together just real easy and no problem? Or?
Oh, no. So, like the cross member for the wheels,
Right.
Originally it was supposed to be flipped up.
Right.
But we couldn't get it to work that way, so Ed flipped it down.
Right.
But everything he did, he measured with his hands. He never used a ruler. So
wow, he just used the span of his thumb to his finger?
Yep.
So I guess he knew what that was, probably about a foot or so, because he had such huge hands.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
He did have large hands. I
Right.
mean, Ed was a big guy.
He's a big guy.
But yeah, he didn't believe in using rulers. He said this is close enough. So, but everything on here, I mean, except for basically the wheels and the engine, he did some type of customization to it.
Right. And that was all in the little bitty garage there at the Pink House.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I was actually fortunate enough to where he let me grind on it and do some of the fiberglass work on it.
Oh, really? On what part? Do you remember on what you did?
So on the back,
Right.
he said, I'm going to let you try this out. He goes, I don't believe you know how to fiberglass, but
Right.
my uncle used to build water slides and boats out of fiberglass. So I
well, yeah,
had
you
done
knew.
quite a bit of fiberglass
Right.
work. So he let me test a spot out here in the back.
Right.
And after, he goes, you do pretty good work. So he let me work on a little bit more.
Well, heck yeah.
So it was a good time.
So did he ever let you like help lay out any of the graphics or any of that stuff, like the striping or masking or any of that kind of stuff?
On that, no. A lot of it, he really wanted to make sure that it was his way.
Right, right.
And so he did most of that.
Right.
But as far as like all the chrome work, he would get it together once it was assembled the way he wanted it.
Right.
Then I would take it and go get it chromed and then bring it back and we'd put
Oh,
it
so
together.
you'd go for a lot of stuff, running it to Salt Lake or wherever.
Yeah, about every 2 weeks I was running
Yeah,
parts
stuff.
up there to be done.
That's very cool. Well, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't be everywhere at one time, so that's
Nope.
very cool. So, yeah, that's a neat story, man. Very cool.
And Ed can fit in there. He built every vehicle so that he would physically fit in there. And you wouldn't think a big guy like that could fit in there.
Right.
But he wanted to make sure that he could physically drive it.
Yeah, because that's a very, very little space there. Ed ever build you or paint a car or anything for you?
So I had a demolition derby car, the Rock and Roll Express.
This is when you were driving or in scouts or what? Oh, okay, demolition, yeah.
Yep. So I was 18,
Okay,
and it was my first year. All my family had done it prior.
okay.
I wanted to do my own, and the neighbor had an old station wagon that he wasn't using, and so we painted it. Ed did a little bit of pinstriping and did my numbers for me, and had a good old time.
And what was the name of it?
The Rock and Roll Express.
Rock and Roll Express. Did you do very well with it? I guess you bashed her up, huh?
Well, I got in the finals and I won $100, so that paid for the car.
All right.
But the local bakery made a huge cinnamon bun for the roll, and we put a big old rock on there.
Oh,
So-
that makes sense.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Did Ed come out and watch you bash it up?
He didn't. I
Oh,
wish he
man.
would have, but
Right. Right.
he said it was kind of sad to watch good cars be.
Yeah, bashed up.
Demolished.
Right. That makes sense.
So the little trailers, I got to help fiberglass
Oh, okay.
on those
Right.
and sand them.
That's these little guys over here.
Yeah.
That's cool. And anything else there's one of the wagons, so the Western Flyers. Are those the kind you were working on?
Yeah, so he made a couple that were a little bit different than that, but he made several of them.
Yeah, and he would even like at swap meets and stuff. He would ride around on those things.
Yep.
And
Well, he was in several of the parades here locally.
right,
He would ride on them to be in the parade.
they were probably really popular, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
how many of those things did y'all make, you think? Any idea? Earthly idea?
I know that we made 7 for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, because you started seeing stuff like that at the swap meets, you know, in the 90s and stuff. And but 7 or 8, man, that's pretty rare, really.
Well, I know that he made a dozen of them because
Right.
he had some. Because he had 2 molds, he would do them 2 at a time.
Oh, okay.
But each one was a little bit different. You know, you can see where one doesn't have a lid.
Oh, that's on the trailers here. Yeah. Okay. What about the radio flyer guys?
So on those, he I can't remember if he actually built it for Willie the Clown. He's a local.
Oh, so those were one-offs, like.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's.
One of them's in the house.
Okay. So a few of those too.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, he was always having some kind of cool, like mini bikes. He liked the mini bikes.
Yep.
So so did he ever build anything for you, or like a car or anything like that?
He did a garbage can for me once, but Shriners needed an auction item. He was almost done with it, and he asked if he could donate it. And I said sure, because I said you can do another one for me. But unfortunately, I never got the chance.
We're over here by the garage part. This is Ed's garage. It's in the museum now. Everything was moved from over at the garage at the Pink House.
Yep.
To here as it was when Ed was working in it. So is this pretty much how it was?
Yep. So I mean, it may have been another couple feet deeper, but this is actually how it was set up.
Wow. So, and these chairs, the associate, the friend, what's that about?
So Ed, when he had guests come over, he would have certain chairs in certain areas.
Right.
So depending on how close he wanted you to him while he was working, he would put you in one of the chairs.
Oh, so you get to be an associate, a friend, an acquaintance. What's that? The other one, assistant. Oh, that's neat. So he didn't have to sort you out. He just put you in the chair.
Right.
That's funny. And there's this big old vise, and
yeah, I did a lot of grinding from that vise.
On that tables and vise. And that's his toolboxes. And of course, there's his tux. He wasn't wearing that when he was working it.
Nope.
And this is his last project here.
It was.
Wow. But he had everything he needed right here in this spot.
Yep, and he even had the phone on the wall, and he'd put all his important phone numbers and people, so he could dial them right quick if he needed to, if he was out in the garage.
Oh, and that's right here. So there's all his important numbers.
Yep.
What was in the keep out?
So he would store all of his T-shirts and models and stuff for the shows back there. So after we'd screen print them, we'd put them back there.
But he had all the tools, hand tools and what have you, that he needed.
He sure did.
Right. So was it heated or air conditioned and all that stuff in the shop, or?
Nope.
Nope, not at either one, huh?
Nope. Ed preferred just having things the way they were. He didn't like air conditioning at all.
Did you have a fan or any of that?
No fans.
Wow.
No, even in his S10 truck, no air conditioning.
He just didn't believe in the creature comforts.
Felt that you just roll down your window and you've got all the air you need.
That's what the windows were for. Okay, I'm not even going to edit. I'm going to go straight. So that's where you were hanging the faxes.
Yep, so the fax machine was there on the bottom shelf, and on the right I would put all the important messages, and on the left, those that he needed to follow up after the important ones.
And were these the screens you guys were using?
Yep.
Wow.
So I hand built almost all of those screens.
Wow, man. So you really have a lot of stuff that you touched, and it's a special place for you. Very special place. Man, that's really neat, guys. Y'all are getting to see some really behind the scenes stuff. That another thing you saw that you guys hand did were these plaster casts of Red Fink.
Yep, so he had the molds here, and we would cast a couple of them every night.
Right.
Until we got about 15 or 20 of them, and then he'd take them on the shows with them and airbrush them.
Right there at the show.
Yep.
So you spent a lot of nights doing plaster casts.
Yep.
And those are pretty cool. So did he sculpt them?
Yeah, he did.
Wow. Isn't that neat? What's the deal with the toilets, painting on the toilet seats? There's toilet seats painted thousands of different ways here in the museum, and Bret actually knows how that happened. What was the story on the toilet seats?
Yeah, so Ed was at a show, and he had packed up everything, and a guy wanted to have Ed draw something for him, and he happened to have purchased a toilet seat, so it was brand new in the box. Ed asked him if he wanted, he could draw on that and airbrush it. So the guy took it out, and voila, the painting of toilet seats
began.
Yep.
So walking around in here, is there any other things you can remember like Ed was doing that might be of interest?
So before all the shirts went to color,
Right.
we would just screen them so it was black on white.
Oh, these are up here?
Yep. And then he would take his airbrush and he would airbrush them.
Okay. So he would get it the basic deal, the design, and then in black on the shirt and color them there.
Yep. And then later we started doing color.
Did the sweatshirts outsell the t-shirts or not? Not really.
No, t-shirts were the main
Yeah.
seller.
But he pretty much went by himself to the shows most of the time, didn't he? I mean, in the early days anyway.
Yep.
And he just take his truck and a trailer, or just a van, or what was he taking?
Yeah, he'd take the truck and the trailer, and sometimes a car, if he'd built a car or new invention that he'd come up with.
Right. But he was pretty much a one man. When he left here, it was you and him, or it was one man show for a lot of years.
Yep, he'd call me up and say, I need these shirts. So I was sending shirts to him if he needed them, or if he was on the road going to another location, so he didn't have to drive back to restock.
So, what are your thoughts of all this stuff that's in here now? I mean, that there's a place for it, and other folks can see all this stuff.
It's amazing to just see what his legacy has become.
Right. And it's so cherished by the ones of us that come trek out here, and would I guess you for sure would recommend a trip out here to Manti to see it, right?
Yep, if you haven't seen it, you'll be amazed and wowed.
Yeah, if you're a car person and you haven't seen this collection or been out here to see the scope of Ed's work, and you know, there's so many artists that, I mean, I always say that the museum is a living thing because it's constantly changing. Y'all hear me say that so much it gets redundant, but it's true. There's so much stuff here, but we really need more space because every year people are bringing stuff and adding to it. And matter of fact, I guess Trixie's always finding people have collections that turn up that we don't even have an idea about. And there's an opportunity to add to it to original stuff. A lot of original stuff's out there.
Yep.
So do you personally have any stuff that you cherish that Ed give you, or you acquired, or?
So he gave me my own set of striping brushes,
Oh, that's pretty special.
and then I have a signed figurine,
Right.
and then I have the original copy of the Road Rally shirt.